Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Podcasting has absolutely exploded, but for so many professionals, it's this huge untapped resource. So today, we're going to break down exactly how you can use it to really amplify your brand. So let me ask you something. Just think for a second. What was the last podcast you listened to? Was it on your commute this morning? Maybe while you were at the gym? Or even just making dinner last night? The thing is, we're all tuning in, all the time. And that right there creates this absolutely massive opportunity. Get ready for this number. 158 million. That's not a global number. That's just how many people in the US are listening to podcasts. I mean, to put that in perspective, we're talking about more than half the entire country. The audience isn't just big, it's absolutely colossal. Okay, so with that huge audience, what's the supply look like? Well, there are over 4.5 million registered podcasts out there. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a ton of noise. And yeah, it is. But it also proves something really important. This whole podcasting thing works. People absolutely love it. When you look at it, this whole landscape is kind of like a modern-day gold rush. You've got this massive, super engaged audience just waiting to be reached. So for brands, for professionals like you, this is valuable territory, just ready to be claimed. The real question is, how do you actually do it? So the question we need to answer isn't, is podcasting popular? We already know the answer to that. The real question is, how can you leverage this incredibly powerful tool to amplify your brand and connect with new audiences? Let's dive in and map out a plan, starting with the most important part. Okay, first things first. It all, and I mean all, starts with the absolute foundation of any good marketing strategy, knowing your listener. Seriously, before you even think about hitting that record button, you have to nail this part. It really boils down to two simple but super profound questions. First, who are you really trying to talk to? And second, and this is just as important, what do they genuinely care about? Getting the who and the why right, that's what gives your show purpose. It's your North Star. And you can see this principle in action so clearly. Let's say your audience is empty nesters, right? They'd probably be super interested in hearing from a developer of a luxury 55 and over community. But flip that. If you're targeting young families, they couldn't care less about that. They want to hear about school districts and parks. See? Your content strategy has to be informed by your audience. It really all comes down to this one idea. Relevance is the heartbeat of retention. If you want people to listen to episode 2 and 3 and 4, you've got to give them value that they can't just find anywhere. You have to laser focus on what truly motivates them. All right, so you figured out who you're talking to. Awesome. Now it's time to get practical. Let's really get into the nuts and bolts of designing your signature show. We're talking format, length, and that one ingredient that can make or break you: consistency. So one of the first questions people always ask is, how long should my show be? Well, if we look at some data from Buzzsprout, it shows that roughly a third of all podcasts falls somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes. But here's the thing. Is that some kind of magic number? Absolutely not. Think of the data as a guide, not a hard and fast rule. Because it's really about way more than just the average. You have to go back to your specific audience. Are they listening during a 30-minute commute on the train? Are they parents trying to squeeze it in during the carpool line? Maybe they're runners who need something for a 45-minute jog. Their lifestyle, their habits, that's what should decide your show's length, your format, and even if you should be filming it for YouTube. The right fit is everything. And this all leads to a really crucial point: sustainability. Look, it is so much better to commit to a solid, predictable bi-weekly schedule than it is to try for a weekly show and then just burn out after a month. High-quality content that people can count on, that beats an ambitious but unpredictable schedule every single time. Because at the end of the day, consistency is what builds trust. When your listeners know that a new episode is going to drop every other Tuesday morning, you become a part of their routine. It's like their morning coffee. And that trust, that's the magic ingredient that turns a casual listener into a true, loyal fan. Okay, so you've figured out your audience. You've designed a great, sustainable show. You're done, right? Well, not quite. There's one more critical piece to this puzzle, and it might be the most important: making sure people can actually find what you've created. There's this old marketing phrase that I think is the perfect way to think about a huge mistake people make with podcasting. It's the idea of billboards in the desert. Just think about it. What good is the most beautiful, compelling billboard if it's stuck in the middle of nowhere and no one ever drives by? It's a powerful message with zero audience. That is the desert billboard problem. And it's so true for podcasts. It honestly doesn't matter how brilliant your content is or how well produced it sounds. If it doesn't reach the right people, it's just shouting into the void. Great content without visibility is, frankly, useless. And this is exactly why a marketing plan for your show isn't just a nice to have. It is an absolute, non-negotiable necessity. You have to build a strong promotional machine behind your podcast to make sure it actually gets in front of the very people you worked so hard to create it for. Now, I bet some of you are thinking, I cannot possibly fit one more thing into my marketing plan. And I get it. But let me reframe that. Instead of adding something, what if you replaced something? Ask yourself this. Is there an underperforming tactic you're using right now, something that's just not delivering, that a podcast could do a much better job of? Let's wrap up with this thought. A podcast gives you a way to connect with an audience that's incredibly unique and intimate. I mean, you're literally in their ears. It's a direct line. In so many ways, your voice is your brand, and this is your chance to finally let it be heard. So, as we finish up here, I'm going to leave you with one final and maybe a little provocative question. We've talked about this massive, massive opportunity that's just waiting for you. So the question is, will 2026 be the year you finally drop your own podcast?